Can't see the little logo.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay. Nice sheen, no puddles. All over the paper. Then I'm going to get a bit of tissue and just wipe up the paper that's on the tape. Just going along, and then it, otherwise I put my hand in it. So that's it, wiped. That's a little bit lacking in the middle. I'm looking sideways on at it to see that it's got the proper amount on. Yeah. Just leave it for a couple of seconds whilst I make up some. I'm going to use Payne's Grey because I've got a nice blue one, but if your Payne's Grey is grey, then use indigo. I'm also going to put a little bit of brown in it just to grey it down, but not as much as a grey. And you want a fair bit. So it's greyer than Payne's Grey, but not as grey as other people's Payne's Grey. If that makes any sense. And I'm going to turn my paper now. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so at the top, it's just a graded wash. I don't want it to come all the way down there. And I want a curve. So I'm just going to do a curve. Where's the boat? There. Right, okay. So it's coming down and it's in that curve. And I also want a little bit just at the bottom, which you can't see. There. If you wanted to put your yellow in to make it sunny, let's put some in now. We don't get the sun when we have mist. So I've darkened the top bit there with a little bit more paint. I'm still holding it up. And I've got some darker at the bottom there. And that, I think, is probably enough. I'm holding it up still so that this, what is now the top, is traveling towards me, and which will look a little bit misty when it gets there. I'm also going to wipe the tape and get the paint off the tape, because I most definitely put my hand in that. If you think you want it a little bit darker at the top, bearing in mind it dries darker. If its paper is still wet, you can put some in. Mine's not. I have to stop now. So I'm going to turn it right the right way, and then we'll again. I'm going to do the rocks on the left-hand side. I'm going to pick that biggest one, clean water, a little bit of the colour that we used for the sky, just dot it in, a little bit of brown in it, A little bit of red if you want, or light red, just to give it a rock color. And a little bit of salt. A couple of grains of salt. And then we'll do the one next to it. Bearing in mind this one is in the light, so we want lighter colors on that one. So I'm going to, a bit of raw sienna. Oh, I'm going to put some water in first. Bit of water in the lines. Bit of raw sienna. And a bit of raw umber. And that's way too wet. So the corner of a tissue. And soak it up. Oh, I just. Right, start again. Right, so a little bit of raw sienna. A little bit of sky color just to darken it, and a couple of grains of salt. And the same with the ones over on this side. So water in first. These are in the dark, so they'll be quite dark rocks. So I'm using more of that sky color that we mixed up, plus a bit more of the brown. Little bit of salt. Right, water. There's one there. Water. Bit of brown. These are quite dark. Putting way too much water on. And I'm using a damp brush just to lift some of that off, because I didn't want all that down there. And a bit of a tissue again. And then we've got one at the back here, which I'm just doing in dark color, and little bits of salt. And I've got that's it. I've changed to a smaller brush because my boat is quite small and it's on A5 paper. So on the right hand side of the boat, the bit that sticks out, not that bit, but this bit, the other side of the boat, I've wet, and I'm going to get some dark color. So it could even be the same color as you used for the darkness over on the sky. And I'm just going to to block in that, and it's, come on. So I've left that wooden bit there that sticks up. I've left that as white at the moment, or as paper coloured. And I'm going to move on to the side of the boat that's in the light, and I'm going to use I think it's raw umber, and I'm going to use, so it's a lighter brown than the sepia, and I'm just going to block in the side of that rowing boat. Just like that. A bit Tommy Cooperish, that. And then I'm just going to, with that brown, I'm just going to do the other opposite side, so you can see the inside of the boat now. We'll put shading on it and etc. afterwards. I'm just going to drop a little bit of the brown into that grey that I put on, just to give it the same colouring. And we're going to do exactly the same on the reflection. So a bit of the sky colour goes in there. And a bit of the raw umber goes there. Remember to leave a white bit in the middle. They join up, there's no mark, there's no distinction between reflection and boat at the moment. Mine is just a bit lighter, but that's all right. So it's just the boat upside down. I'm going to get a bit more of that sky colour, and inside I'm just going to gently drop in some of that dark. I'm keeping it very much all the same sort of colours so that it's harmonious. If you start adding different things in, it becomes a lot more colourful, but we're after harmony. No orange was used in the making of this. I'm just testing to see whether these rocks are dry, and they are. So I'm going to be really naughty and overpaint. I'm using a thicker mix. I'm using the same mix as I used for the sky. And I'm using two colours on it. And it's mixed on the paper, not on the brush. Yeah. I've had to mess about with it a bit just to cover up the mess I made. And then a little bit of salt just to give it a bit of texture. And then I'm just pulling out a bit of that colour. This is where we went wrong last time. Just to give it a bit of shadow. And I'm going to do the same with this one. Just extend it a bit. This one's all right. That's it. Mistake covered up. I'm just going to lift a bit there. You see, I fiddle. This is the trouble. I fiddle. Just lifted a bit of colour there. Just to show you that there is a bit of light. So it's clean water. And a bit of a tissue just to wipe it out. So, and going back to my small brush and some dark brown, I'm putting this bit of boat in here. I'm sure there's a word for it, but and that in there. Then, oh, wait. Okay, so we're going to do some details. I'm going to do those little lines on the boat that join the planks of wood together. So I've got a very thin brush, thin and long, and I'm going to use that sky color again. And very carefully, I'm going to just draw a few lines. That's all. Right. And I'll do some at the back as well. Oh. And I've got too much water on it that time. And I'm going to do exactly the same in the water. They don't have to join up or anything. It's just a suggestion. It's just saying these lines are here. That's that. And we've got a mooring line and a reflection of a mooring line. So my mooring line comes out the boat and down towards the sea. And I'm going to put a red buoy in, or buoy, as the Americans would say.
Well, we say buoy, we're correct.
And then I'm going to do a reflection. They meet up at the buoy. Then I've got another one coming out of the boat at the back. There. And what else do I have? Oh, whilst I've got this colour on my brush, I'll just do my birdies. Remember to, birdies are quite flat. And the buoy. So I'm going back to just a small brush. And this is, we could have a splash of orange. Have an orange buoy. So this is where my buoy is. So it's a half circle, which is solid. And then some little lines, reflection. The boat has got some seats, so I'm going to, with the dark colour, I'm just going to do 2 lines across for seats. Buoy, rocks, and that line there has just got a bit of a ripple round it. I want that darker because that's in the dark. Line, rocks. I think that's it, really. Right, small brush. And I'm just going over the outline of that. There. And with a bit of Payne's grey, I'm just outlining the top of that boat there. Pushing those lines in. That's it. Oh. And of course, there's a reflection in the water from where it's that mooring line is then reflected back. Then really, if you want to do anything else, put person in, dog, dragon. Now's the time. And I'm just doing some with the rigger, just doing some little lines across. And that's it. Pencil down, as they used to say at the end of it, of tests. And I'm just going to get my eraser, or as we'd say, rubber. Rub out any pencil marks that are dry. I haven't got wet paint over them. And get that off of there. And that's done. That is